Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of the Outlaw Nation podcast. I'm your host every week, John Roca, a.k.a. The Outlaw. And what do you think of the new music? Christian Harloff told me straight up, listen, if we're going to get you sponsors for this show, I know you like putting your music on there. I know you like playing these awesome artists and their great songs at the beginning of your podcast, to do the musical breaks in between the segments on your podcast and to end your podcast. But if we're going to sell this thing, you can't have copyrighted music on there. So I had to go and find new music that is not copyrighted or licensed. And for those of you who don't understand the podcast game a little bit, there are websites that you can go to and download and find music to fit your podcast. That you don't have to pay any rights for and that you can use and whatever. And so this one I'm using, I loved it. Immediately I knew that's the one. That's the one that lead in the Outlaw Nation podcast every week. It's called Verbal Assassin. I mean, even the title fits perfectly for what I want to do with the show. So yeah, I like the song. So hopefully you guys like the song too. And this is something for you guys that are listening, and you guys and girls, whoever is listening, guys and gals, whatever you want to say, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I want to be respectful here, males and females, men and women, transgender, whatever. I don't care. You're all the same to me. I accept you fully. You all have a right to live in this world and live in this on this amazing planet. But I am looking to possibly get some music for the podcast from fans. So if you are a musician, you are a composer, you are a writer, whatever it is that you do with music, if you want to send me some tracks that you think fit the Outlaw, fit Outlaw Nation, fit John Roca, I will absolutely, if I like the music, if I like the tracks, I will absolutely use it on my podcast. And I won't be able to pay you anything, but I will absolutely give you credit. And if you have a website that has your music that people can go purchase or people can go listen to, I will promote the website on the show. I have no problem doing any of that. So if any of you are composers and fans of mine or fans of the Outlaw Nation podcast, then please send me your stuff. You can DM me the stuff on Twitter, or you can send it to my email, johnsroca at yahoo.com. John S. as in Stephen, Roca at yahoo.com, and I will absolutely listen to it. All right, cool. All right, so anyway, let's get to it. This week, a lot of stuff going on. Later on in the podcast, we have Jason Inman from DC All Access, very good friend of mine, a guy I became very fast friends with in this business. As soon as we met, there was just kind of this vibe that we both understood each other, like from small towns, lovers of comic books, grew up with this stuff in our blood, and so it's been a quick friendship with Jason and I, and of course his lovely wife Ashley Victoria Robinson, who I love to death and think is amazing as well. So Jason was gracious to come on the podcast and talk a little bit of Wonder Woman, a little bit about the DCEU, also talk about how he got into this business. I think some of you all really enjoy hearing about our stories of how we found our way into this industry and how we found our way into hosting and stuff like that. So I thought it was great. It's fantastic. It's coming up a little bit later, and stay tuned for that. So, but let's get through everything. I'm not gonna do as many segments this week as I have before. I'm trying something new. As I told you from the first episode, this is gonna be a bit of a work in progress as we get everything kind of squared away with Outlaw Nation. And so I just want to run through stuff, And so it's been a crazy busy week, and of course, living in this country, every damn day there's something new going on that's crazy or unsettling, or for some of you that are on that side of the fence that love what Trump is doing, you're happy and you couldn't be more ecstatic about what he's doing. And some of us who are on the other side are like, what the hell is going on? What is he doing now? It's almost an hourly thing sometimes, not a daily thing, an hourly thing. Oh, he wants to pull out of the Paris Accord for climate change now. Oh, okay, what's this all about? He wants to go to NATO and shit on everyone else. He wants to, manhandle the Montenegro president. He wants to go off to Saudi Arabia, put his hand on an orb and look like something out of Alex Ross's Kingdom Come sequel. It's just so weird, all the stuff that's going on. And then you have Sean Spicer coming out, and then the Covifi thing, which was so crazy. I think that's how you say it, or Covefe, whatever. However, nobody cares. It's not a real word. But even that was nuts, and people used it and went overboard with it. So it's so insane. It literally is a roller coaster that never ends, and the dips get more and more steep every time. So it's just crazy, you know. And now we have, and of course, now with the big news, of course, was the whole thing with Kathy Griffin. You know, she did a comedic piece where she essentially beheaded Donald Trump and held his head out and blood all over his face. Look, terrible joke. Certainly not something you want to see out in the zeitgeist. And it's unfortunate that she chose to do that, because I think Kathy's a funny lady. I think she's broken the walls down, the fourth wall down, on a number of celebrities and people who are famous for her with her stories about her interactions with them. I think some of her comedy specials have been some of the funniest stuff you've ever seen. I think she's definitely like walks in the footsteps of Joan Rivers. That style of comedy. Kathy was really great at it. You know, My Life on the D List, all of that. So this is unfortunate, right? It's, you know, obviously there's a lot of anger in the country about Trump, and I get that. Obviously, I get that, and especially from women, and absolutely warranted. The man is a massive misogynist, and we've seen the comments he's made. No one says grab him by the pussy and is like some kind of awesome dude who treats women really well, regardless of what Kellyanne Conway says. You know, she's paid to say all that shit. So, like, it's just there's a lot of anger. You know, I know a lot of my female friends cried the day he was elected, because they know a guy like that. They worked with a guy like that. They had a boss like that. They had family members like that. They've dated guys like Trump, who take women for granted, who treat them like objects, who don't respect them as equals, you know? And so the anger, I understand it. Like, I think it's absolutely warranted. That being said, though, you've got to, like Michelle Obama said, like, when they go low, we got to go high, you know, and we being everyone, not just people on one political spectrum or the other. Like, you got to go high when anyone is going low. And so Kathy, unfortunately, took the wrong way through. She issued an apology. I mean, and she paid the price. They fired her off CNN for the New Year's Eve coverage for the foreseeable future. Squatty Potty, which had been her very, very new sponsorship for her, dropped her. So that campaign is over for her. And, you know, she had to issue an apology. She had to get on air and issue an apology. And, you know, she did it. And to her credit, she issued the apology and felt bad. But I think all of us need to kind of, like, you know, not have selective memory here, or not have selective amnesia, and remember the stuff that Ted Nugent said, you know, stuff about hanging Obama and Hillary Clinton, about wanting them to go to jail, about Obama sucking the end of his rifle like he's sucking a dick, you know. So fuck Ted Nugent, honestly. Fuck that old hillbilly to death. I don't give a shit. This is the Outlaw Nation podcast. I say what the fuck I really mean. And that guy's an old, irrelevant cock. You know what I'm saying? But Kathy is still in our pop culture awareness, in our pop culture zeitgeist, and it's unfortunate that she chose to do this, and she's paying the price. And rightly so. Rightly so. Because if we want to battle this, you know, this kind of what seems like almost like a regime, a third world dictator regime happening in this country, the worst thing we can do is undercut ourselves by having people walk out there who speak or believe our views, and do it in such a way that's so incredibly, I don't know, what do you call it? Tone deaf, incredibly tone deaf. Yeah, that comedy was tone deaf, and it was such a mistake by her. But hey, she's paying the price. Like I said, she's paying the price, you know. And we'll see what's coming up next week, because the fired FBI director James Comey is going to testify in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee, in front of that, in front of that panel that's investigating the Russia stuff with Trump. You know, he's already talked to Robert Mueller to figure that out, like what he's supposed to say, or like what the parameters of his testimony is supposed to include. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I don't know, and there's rumors now that Trump may invoke executive privilege to keep Comey from testifying about his interactions with Trump or his conversations with Trump, which really would feel guilty to me. You know, I don't know about any of y'all, but that feels guilty to me. And the House Intelligence Committee has already subpoenaed Trump's lawyer and Flynn to come speak to them next. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on, and Trump's lawyer refused to submit the documents that they requested because he was saying it was too broad. And now we have Devin Nunes, who had been the chair, who had been the Republican head of the House Intelligence investigation on this. Now he's calling for subpoenas on Barack Obama's people, and which of course is totally a political ploy and totally trying to fire up his base and maintain his status in the Republican community. And I get that. You know what? Listen, let's not be babies about this. Politics is really about covering your own ass, making as much money as possible, and then trying to do what's best for your base so you can keep getting reelected. That's what it is now. It's not what it was supposed to be, but that's certainly what it is now. There's not a lot of nobility in politics. There really isn't. Even Obama. I mean, look, I love Obama to death. Voted for him both times. Loved the 8 years he was in office. But he's not without mistakes. He's not without shame. He's not without flaws. We recognize them, though. We recognize the flaws. Absolutely. Hillary, too. And, she came out. I don't know. It's tough for me sometimes with Hillary because I wasn't her biggest fan. I really wanted Bernie to take that nomination. And she can, she comes up with these excuses. She comes up with these reasons. She's always trying to explain away her loss. And it's like, I think she should stop talking about it. Just stop talking about it. I'm not saying that, hey, woman, shut up. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying, regardless of gender, it was election, you lost, let's move on. Start talking about other things. You know what I'm saying? And going back and forth with Trump on Twitter, you give him the attention that he wants. He's a narcissist. I've dated narcissists. I know they want attention. They do stuff for attention. They goad you. They get in front of you. They try to get your attention when you're ignoring them. They do all that crap because they want your attention. Once you give it to them, then you're the one that fails because you can't win that game with a narcissist. You really can't, especially an incredibly insecure narcissist like Trump, like what he pulled on that president from Montenegro, physically pushing him out of the way so he could be up front. And then he did that whole I'm going to, adjust my jacket so I look like I'm really tough. And that ain't where it's at. That ain't where it's at. We want someone strong. We don't want someone phony strong. We want someone actually strong. He's not actually strong. Everything he's doing is just for show. It's for to placate his base. It's to make himself feel like he's important. Man, he's an irrelevant piece of shit, man. And it's so frustrating that we have to deal with him all the time. Anyway, all right. So that's done with the political part of this bullshit. So let's move on to the next thing. So there's a lot of stuff happening in the sports world now. The NBA Finals are starting tonight. If you're listening to this podcast on the day it's released on Thursday, there's game one is tonight, 6:00 Pacific Standard Time. It's the Warriors and the Cavs again for the third straight year. This is insane. No teams have ever faced each other 3 times in a row in a finals in the NBA. So this is going to be fun. I think this finals is going to be insane. And there's so much on both sides that you can make arguments. You have Durant coming to the Warriors. You have this whole idea of the Cavs picking up Kyle Korver. We have Kevin Love playing the best year he's ever played, I think, for the Cavaliers. And LeBron is he's peaking again, and Kyrie is killing it. And you have Steph on the other side who's doing his best. And Steph's already started with the trash talk by saying in an interview, the quote unquote champs. That's what he said, quote unquote champs. He didn't say champs. He said quote unquote champs, which is a dig at LeBron and the Cavs, and you have Draymond talking and stuff how he wants to annihilate. But there's all these kind of storylines, also this whole idea of Mike Brown coaching, who used to coach the Cavaliers, who's a shitty in-game coach during the finals when he was coaching the Cavaliers. And when he was coaching them a second time around, he was a shitty in-game coach, and he's taking over this well-oiled machine. Steve Kerr is his back, it's not letting him be on the sidelines with what Phil Jackson was suffering with through the last couple of years of his coaching tenure with the Lakers. Same thing. This bad back stuff is real. It's real painful, for a lot of people. I know my friend has a sciatica situation with his back all the time. It comes out of nowhere, and it can be real debilitating. And so it's a shame that Kerr can't be on the sidelines there, but he's sending messages to players in the middle of the games and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, and I hope this series goes 7. I personally believe that the Cavaliers have an advantage, a mental advantage, because they've beaten Golden State at Golden State in a Game 7. And that can't be discounted. That's huge. And yes, it's a different Golden State. They don't have Azuli. They don't have the different guys. You know, they've got JaVale McGee now. They've got different guys in these positions. Enes Kanter. They have different guys. Not Kanter, I'm sorry. Pakuya. They have different guys in these positions. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out from game to game, because I think this is going to be a knockdown, drag-out, old-school 15-round Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier heavyweight fight. Like, I think this thing is going the distance. I would be real shocked if the Warriors sweep them. I know a lot of people say, you know, the Warriors can sweep, the Warriors will sweep, the Warriors will sweep. I don't know, man. LeBron has shown indomitable will over the last few years in his play, and how he's able to rally a team to fight. You know, against the Spurs the first time around, not when he was with the Cavaliers, but when he was with Miami, and then against the Warriors last year, coming down from 3-1. I mean, that's against the team that had won 72 games. It's pretty amazing. So anyway, it's going to be awesome to see what happens. You know, Tyronn Lewis, it's his second year as a coach, you know, and he won the finals in his first year. Can he repeat? You know, what's that? What's going to happen there? Can J.R. Smith come back and really contribute in a meaningful way in the series? Can he pull the defenders out of the way to give more, with his shot, to give more space to LeBron in the paint, give more space to Tristan Thompson or Kevin Love out on the perimeter, or Kyrie to drive through the lane and get his points or get his fouls? You know, there's all kinds of stuff that can happen here, you know, and Steph, of course, pulling stuff out. Is Draymond going to be a defensive beast? How much does Iguodala have left in the tank? What's going to happen with the rotations? What big men are going to be able to play for how long, you know? How far are they going to play this thing out? So to me, as a basketball fan, and I know I can speak for Matt Nost in this, like, we're both looking forward to this finals to see how these two teams play with each other and how they figure each other out, because it's certainly going to be a chess match from the first second to the last second of each game. So it's going to be a blast. Unfortunately, some of the stuff, unfortunately, the ugly specter of racism rears its head as well here with the NBA Finals. Someone spray painted the N-word on LeBron's home in Los Angeles, one of his homes in Los Angeles. He came out and he spoke. He was asked about it at a press conference. And if you haven't seen it, you can go to my Twitter at The Roca Says. I tweeted about it, or you can go and, just Google LeBron press conference, or Google LeBron and, racial epithet or whatever you want to say there, that you can do there on Twitter, in the search, rather, not Google, but in search on the Twitter, and find it there, and you'll watch his response. I think his response is fantastic. It's one of the best responses you'll ever hear, and it definitely shows you the maturity, the mature statesman role that LeBron now occupies in the NBA, and not just in the NBA, but in our awareness. He's got fantastic ability to break down a situation like this and make it relatable and make it understandable. Like, you can connect with his pain or his frustration. But it isn't lamenting. He doesn't lament the situation. The fact that he said, like, I would be willing to endure this racial stuff again, an incident like this again, as long as my family was safe, if it led to a teaching moment. And that's something, because if you compare LeBron and MJ, which seems to be the big thing now, to compare LeBron and Jordan never really made that many strong political stances. And he famously said, I think conservatives or Republicans buy tennis shoes too, which is a way of saying, like, they buy my shoes as well. I don't want to piss off half of my potential buying populace, which, as a businessman, I respect that. I do. And he has a right to do that in this country. He does not have to speak on every political issue. LeBron is a different animal. He wants to speak about these kinds of things, and I think he should. And I think he does them really, really well, and very eloquently too. So in bringing up like historical examples of what he's talking about, which he did in the press conference. So it's unfortunate, this stuff we're still dealing with in 2017. I think it's born of fear, jealousy. That's where racism usually comes from. It's fear and jealousy that, black people or Latino people or Arab people or Persian people or whatever, Armenians, whatever you have, are somehow, better or more capable or more better in bed or stronger or better athletes or more intelligent or whatever. It's born of that. And it's unfortunate that it's still an issue we're dealing with in 2017. I think it sucks. I think it sucks, like, just so badly, because we don't need it. We don't need it. We should be better. By this point, we should be better. All right, the other big piece of news in sports is what happened with Tiger Woods. I don't know if you all saw that very unfortunate DUI picture, man. He looks completely out of it. He got pulled. He got found out in his car. He was asleep in his car. His car had damage to it. He initially lied to the officers about where he was going or where he was coming from, and then admitted that it was prescription drugs. Then they did a breathalyzer test, or they did a test on his alcohol level, and he had no alcohol in his system. So, my argument with this is, this is like sad, because Tiger was really a symbol of inspiration for so many people, and not just African-American people, like people in general, because he came at a time when people wanted a hero. Like, we always love our sports heroes, and Tiger, really epitomized that, but there was, after that interview, I think it was in Vanity Fair or GQ, that interview where he really revealed some uncomfortable parts of his personality. I think that's when we started to see the deconstruction of Tiger. And of course, what happened with his wife, Ellen Norgren, and the cheating and the stuff on Thanksgiving night and everything that happened with that, and then stuff with Lindsey Vonn. Was that a real relationship or not a real relationship? And him and his back injuries, like, it just seemed to all spiral out of his control ever since that night, that Thanksgiving night, where Ellen allegedly took the golf club to his car and to his truck rather, and so it's just craziness, and it's unfortunate, for him to be in the situation now where he's having to get a mugshot taken, having to negotiate his release from jail, having to deal with this stuff, and it's his own, obviously, it seems like he's having a really hard time dealing with this end of his career, what feels like the end of his career. And who knows? We've seen, golfers come back at later ages. Jack Nicklaus came back and won the Masters at 47. Like, it's certainly possible. Certainly Tom Watson did the same thing. Like, golfers have come back later on in life and won. I mean, John Daly the other day won a tournament. I haven't heard John Daly win a tournament in a long time. And he won a tournament. Yes, it was a Masters tournament or older person tournament, but he still won. So that matters. And so it's certainly possible, but it just feels like this has been a slow, steady decline of Tiger. And that Masters, that fist pump, red shirt, black pants wearing Masters, where he won by like 17 strokes, just seems so far away now. And not just because it's 20 years ago or whatever, but also it seems like a lifetime ago from that guy to this guy now. And yeah, I mean, some of it is obviously, I'm not going to discount the fact that some of it is self-imposed, but it's still an unfortunate situation all around, and I'm just, if there's anything positive about this, A, he didn't have alcohol in his system, and B, he wasn't driving on the road. He knew enough about how impaired he was to pull off the road and stay in one place. And yeah, he fell asleep, he passed out, but at least he didn't slide into any cars. He didn't slide into any cars or hurt somebody or kill anybody. All of that is, if anything positive come out, it's that. So hopefully he gets the help he needs and gets himself back on track for his family, if nothing, for his kids, if nothing else, for his kids. Ellen has definitely moved on. She's, I think she's dating a billionaire or a multimillionaire now, and she seems happy, and the kids, I'm sure, are set for the rest of their lives. They don't have to worry about that. But it's always, no matter rich or poor or middle income, whatever it is, like you still want to have a stable family situation. It helps so much in the long run. All right, enough about that. Let's move on to some TV news, because some people have been tweeting at me and talking to me about will you do a review of The Flash, this past season of The Flash? And because I hosted the recap show over on Collider, and of course, a massive fan. I did that with Josh McCouga and David Griffin. We did that for a while, and Kari Takei, we did that for a while, and we had fun reviewing The Flash. And Campia, of course, John Campia was on initially and stuff like that. So it was a real blast to review The Flash and have a good time reviewing. So this season, I thought this season was really, really good. I was surprised at how much they were able to weave into this season with Flashpoint. And of course, Savitar was, it ended up being, I guess I should say a spoiler alert, right here. If you haven't seen this past season of The Flash, it just ended a couple weeks ago or last week, I suppose you can stop listening for a little bit, and I'll try to put a time code on. I know I say that every week and I don't, but I'll really, really try this time. I really will try. And I really enjoyed the season. And the reveal, I saw the reveal coming. But I enjoyed Panabaker's work as Killer Frost. I mean, Daniel Panabaker, I absolutely love her. I really do. I think she's so good on the show. And sometimes she has thankless roles, Firestorm's girlfriend, and with Jay Garrick, that whole twist last year, and all this kind of stuff. But she endures it like a champ. She's such a good actress and rolls through those situations like a champ and makes it work. And this season, they finally gave her a chance to shine as Killer Frost, and I thought she was great. So much about this season was so good. Cisco coming into his own, Gypsy showing up. I enjoyed the stuff with the actual Jay Garrick, all that stuff going on. It was great to see him as Flash again. It's so awesome to see those characters come back to life and see what they can do within the scheme and the scope of this season. And also so much about with Joe, like they made so many changes to Iris and Joe's situation and Joe's relationship with Barry. There was so much going on, and Grant Gustin did some great work. I mean, listen, Emo Flash, we can make fun of Emo Flash if we want, but there's enough going on through the episodes that I thought was really tight and good, and it made me miss doing the recap show. It really did, because I thought there was a lot to talk about, a lot of fun to be had in recapping the season. So let me just say that if you haven't seen the season, watch it. It's really worth your time. I'm sure it'll be on Netflix soon. It's such a fantastic show, and everyone was comparing it to Arrow. I feel like every season of The Flash has been good, and I have not felt that way about Arrow. So to me, I think right now Flash is batting 3 for 3, and we'll see what happens in the 4th season. We'll see how far they take it. And it's always great to see John Wesley Shipp. I wanted to say that John Wesley Shipp back in his old getup as the Flash. It's always fun to see him show up and have that play out the way it did. The other shows I'm watching, Fargo. If you're not watching Fargo this season, I don't know what to tell you. If you haven't watched any of Fargo ever, get on it. Fargo is such a damn good show. Such an intelligent show. The actors, every season, because they redo the whole cast, they just do a whole new cast every season. The actors are fantastic on this show. The scripts are tight. The plots are fun to dive into and explore. And the twists and turns that just come out of nowhere are so earned and so worth it. You spend your time in this story and in this community, because every year it's a different story, it's a different era, it's a different time. You spend time with these people and you really feel a connection, and you go with them where they're going. And this season, with Carrie Coon, Ewan McGregor, Michael Stuhlbarg, and David Thewlis. I mean, David Thewlis is on a whole nother level, the work he's doing here. Like I've been a fan of his since Naked, if you guys remember that British film. And I've enjoyed watching him on so many things, obviously in Harry Potter, and so many other projects. He's never not good, he's always good. And so to see him even take it to a whole nother level for him this season on Fargo has been amazing. Just amazing. And of course, Mary Elizabeth Winstead has been great too. And, so many fantastic actors go through the Fargo seasons and just really shine. And this season is no different. So if you're not watching Fargo this season, I think it's probably my favorite season of any of the seasons of Fargo. And that first season was really hard to beat. I just feel like this season there's something stronger, something deeper in this story, and maybe it's because Noah Hawley has had 3 seasons to really, chip away at what he wants to do with the show. And I think coming off Legion, it's been great to see him do this as well. So I'm also loving Silicon Valley this year. Silicon Valley. I have such a love affair with Silicon Valley, love-hate affair with Silicon Valley, because every year I watch 2 or 3 episodes. I'm like, I'm gonna just take it off the DVR. I'm not. It's okay. And then out of nowhere, it picks up steam. It hooks me and it takes me to the end. And the last 2 episodes of Silicon Valley have really hooked me and taken me to the end. Are going to take me to the end. I'm on board to the end of this ride now this season. It happens every damn season, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about those guys that, like, initially I'm like, oh, this again, or TJ's doing the same thing again, or his character of Ehrlichman, oh, he's being such a jerk off. Why do they let this guy do what he's doing, But Thomas Middleditch is so great as a lead in the show, and it's just so fantastic, the work that's going on that show, and the writing. And initially, like I said, it takes me a little bit of time to get. But once I get in, I'm hooked. And so this past couple episodes have just been great. It's been so good to see Thomas Middleditch really take the lead again and kind of start pushing the show to its end. For this season. Veep has been fantastic as well, man. Veep is one of those shows that I cannot tell you that I love enough. It's just so brilliantly written, and the jokes are so sharp and dark and hard, yet people who talk like this, or at least a majority of us do know people who talk. I don't mean political jargon. I mean they speak like this. They ball bust like this. They tear each other to pieces like this, yet they can't quit each other, And so that's what's so great about watching Veep and going through the stuff that they do every season, to see all the changes and the hell they put vice president and then former president Selena Meyer through every year. Tony Hale's on a whole nother level again as Gary, and Anna Klumsky has been great. Reed Scott has been great. Timothy Simmons has really been a standout this year, along with Sam Richardson. And Gary Cole and Kevin Dunn are always great. Matt Walsh is always solid. And Sarah Sutherland as Catherine has been fantastic. And it's been great to see this whole thing kind of play itself out with Catherine and, the Secret Service agent, her lesbian lover, Clea Duvall. It's been so great to see that play out. But what Timothy Simmons is doing, which is essentially it's so subtle the way they're doing it. He's essentially the Trump of the show now. He's like kind of stumbling his way into these situations because he's just speaking his stupid truth, and it seems to be working for whatever reason. And he finds himself in these situations that keep thwarting Selena Meyer, which is so hilarious. And it's been fun to see them give Timothy Simmons a little more of a central role, because he's always been kind of the bitch of the show. If you guys remember from the first season, he's really stepped on and abused, and they've come up with, like, one of my favorite episodes ever was when they came up with all the different nicknames for him that they had, which just they could not come up with better ones and come up with funnier ones that just had me rolling. And that's the kind of talent they have on the show in terms of writing, the kind of jokes they bring to the show, the kind of hard-hitting stuff that you initially are like, wait, what? And it just kind of hits you. And they added Mary Holland this year to be, Jonah's wife in waiting, and she is just taking control of everything in their relationship, and it so works. And Mary Holland, I've had a massive crush on Mary Holland for quite some time, and if any of you know her who's listening to me, and if she's single, I would love to take her out on a date. I really would. And I know the Outlaw Nation podcast is not supposed to be about that, but I'm just telling you, like, I think Mary Holland is pretty awesome, and I'd love to even just get a coffee with her. And maybe someday I'll get to interview her on the show and talk about Veep, because I know a few friends who are friends with her at UCB, and so hopefully there's a way to get her on the show, depending on the numbers, right? So it always depends on that. So, okay, so Veep. So if you're not watching Veep, watch Veep. Another show I'm watching, of course, is The Doctor Who. My friend Mike Fox, who's him and his brother Will, the Fox brothers basically are some really great writers who do a lot of animation. They worked on According to Jim for a little bit. They've just done a lot of stuff over the years, and we've become great friends. And Mike Fox turned me on to Doctor Who a couple of years ago, and he sent me a bunch of, and I had tried Doctor Who the first time, and I just, for whatever reason, it didn't click for me when I tried it a few years ago. But 3 years ago, whatever reason, the last few episodes of the Matt Smith stuff got me, and then I have been such a fan of Peter Capaldi as an actor. I just loved him. I love him as the Doctor. I really do. I love the cantankerous nature of the first couple of seasons, but this season has been fantastic. He's been great. He's shined. I mean, he's shown so well this season, and they've really given him so much to do and so much to play with in these sequences and in these episodes rather. And I think they found the perfect companion for him, because I thought the stuff from the last couple of seasons with Jenna Coleman, I thought there was like a tenuous connection with them, but it didn't quite feel as magical as what she had with Matt. And so when that happens, it really affects the Doctor. He has to have the right companion, because the Doctor on his own is, it can be quite annoying. he needs the companion to humanize him. He needs the companion for us to connect to him. And I think Pearl Mackie has been a revelation this year as Bill on Doctor Who. She's been so great, so seamless. There hasn't been an inauthentic moment, an inauthentic second that she's had in any of the episodes. And Matt Lucas, of course, such a great addition as Nardole. It's so great to see them play off each other, and the different episodes have been fun to explore and discover. And I'm still somewhat a relatively new convert to Doctor Who, so a lot of the stuff that they're going through, I haven't experienced. I'm very familiar with the Daleks now, the Metal Men, all that stuff, but there's new things that come through that tie into, they're little allusions to previous seasons, previous iterations of the Doctor. And I think the rumor is that Capaldi is leaving after this season, which is going to be a shame because I've really enjoyed Capaldi. So we'll see what happens. But if you're not watching Doctor Who, I don't know what to tell you. You've got to get on that. All right, that's enough out of me. I've talked enough about my stuff in my world, in my life, my points of views on things that are going on this week. Without further ado, let's take a quick musical break. And on the other side of that break is my interview with Jason Inman. I think you guys are going to love it. Jason's a fantastic guy. If you haven't seen him on DC All Access, if you haven't seen his, if you haven't been and watched his YouTube videos that he does at Jawin, Jawiin, then I'm telling you, you're missing out on a very intelligent, knowledgeable, fun voice in this business, in this industry. And I can't wait for you to hear the interview right after this musical break. We'll be right back on the Outlaw Nation podcast. All right, welcome everybody back to the Outlaw Nation podcast. And yes, it's that time in the show where we bring on a very awesome and special guest. And I am so excited to have the host of DC All Access, writer and co-creator of Jupiter Jet, the amazing, all-around great guy, Jason Inman. Welcome to the show, Jason.
I'm so glad to be here. And it's also very nice to talk to you when we have, calmness in our voices.
Yes. Well, we're not all going nuts about some geeky stuff.
But movie trivia or whatever.
That's right. Or yelling at each other on some kind of talk show. Jason, I really appreciate you coming on the show this week. I wanted to bring you on because, of course, you host DC All Access. You're such a massive comic book fan. And there's so much, I'm sitting in your room now. We're recording in Jason's.
We're surrounded by action figures.
Yeah, we really are. This is one of my favorite places to come and record.
Right
now. Yeah, this is it's just so amazing. Listen, never grow up, people. Never fucking grow up. I'm just telling you, never grow up. You can live a life and enjoy your life and have these great things around you that make you smile and make you happy. Don't get old and bored and staid.
It's funny. While John is saying all this, I'm noticing that his eyes are being caught by the new toy or the new picture on the wall. It's kind of funny.
It's no lie, dude. I love this place.
He's like, he's got that one.
I always love coming to record here. Jason, I wanted to have you on, but first let's talk about we'll get to some things I want to talk about. I want to talk about Wonder Woman. I want to talk about all the stuff that's going on with DC. But I just want to ask you, I want to let people know, if maybe they're new to you, don't know you that well, or don't know your history. Where are you from originally?
I am from a small farm in southeast Kansas.
Wow.
The nearest town there is it's called Stark. The last census, it had 73 people.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really small. So you could say that I literally do come from Smallville. And sometimes out here I tell people that, and they'll I know where Smallville is. I'm like, it's a fictional city.
Right. It doesn't even exist.
It does not exist. Yeah.
But that speaks to the how it's permeated pop culture. That people actually think it's a real city in Kansas. Yeah. So when did you go? Did you go to college out there in Kansas, or where did you?
I went to two colleges. I went to Cottville Community College. It's this little minuscule little college for theater and film.
Right.
And then that's when the Army was like, hey, we're going to send you to Iraq for a year. And that's when that happened. Right. And then when I came back, I finished up my bachelor's degree at the University of Tulsa in Oklahoma.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. So what made you go into the Army? Did you have a desire to go? Was it 9/11? What was it that got you in there?
I joined before 9/11.
Okay.
I joined a year before 9/11, actually. Right. I joined when I was in high school.
Okay.
I was 17. I think I was that small town Kansas kid, and the recruiter had a great pitch, see the world.
Right.
And I think it naturally activated, be like, yeah. And I think I got infused with this idea of doing something that a lot of people don't do.
Right.
And like I was like, even with basic training, I was like, a lot of people know complete basic training. If I do it,
you'll have a sense of accomplishment.
Exactly.
Yeah. Did you feel like, even growing up, did you feel like you wanted to get into, like, were you always into comics, or was it something that came onto you later on in life? What was it? Like, what was your experience with it?
I got into comics very early on.
Okay.
Because of like the Batman Michael Keaton movie.
Oh wow. Okay. So
I
1989.
bought this comic book, Batman 466, because it had Batman tied to the bottom of a rocket.
Yes.
I still have it.
Wow.
It's framed. It's sitting in a closet. Actually, it's not out. John was like looking for it.
Yeah, I know.
Where is it?
It's got to be here somewhere.
It's on the wall. No, it's not. So I bought that, but that didn't really hook me into comic books. But that was the first comic book I ever bought.
Right.
The thing that really got me was Death of Superman.
Oh yeah.
And I found the trade in a gas station in the small town called Erie, Kansas.
Okay.
And it was the first time that I'd learned that Superman existed in a shared universe.
Right.
I didn't know that. I thought they were all separate.
Oh.
So when Batman and Wonder Woman showed up for his funeral, I was like, what is this?
Oh, how funny.
And I kind of got obsessed with figuring out who the people in the book were that I didn't know.
Right.
And from there, it kind of like, it just never stopped.
How funny, because from my experience, I saw the Justice League animated series in the Saturday mornings, so I always knew they were like a shared universe, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to go kind of backwards into it.
Well, they never
So
crossed
it's
over in any of their movies.
That's right.
Or any of their TV shows.
That's a good point.
At the time.
Right.
So that's why I was like, oh, they obviously are not in the same universe.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you go into the military, like you just wanted to go and see the world. You joined the army, right?
Yeah. Joined the army.
Yeah. And you went overseas. You're a veteran. You saw war in Iraq, like you saw time. How long were you in Iraq?
I was there for like 11 and a half months.
Okay, wow.
The
So
year
almost a full year.
2005.
Wow.
Yeah. I think we hit the ground, I think, like January 2nd, 2005, and we left December 17th.
Wow.
So, like almost all of 2005.
What was that experience like? Like landing there? Like you're like you said, you're a small town kid. Like all of a sudden you're in Iraq. Now, Iraq's not like this metropolitan city, these jungles or anything. It's a sand.
Just sand.
Right?
Yeah. I don't know, man. It was interesting. It was... It's definitely different. I mean, it's definitely a third world country. And when I was there, it could be completely different now because we're like 12 years removed. But it was just after, it was like 6 months to a year right after the invasion.
Right.
So there was still a lot of rubble.
Yeah.
Still a lot of roads that weren't cleared off.
Yeah.
You could see the effects of the quote unquote war.
Right.
And it was quite an experience. I guess it surprised me simply for the fact that the biggest thing that made a difference on me was how much we take for granted.
Yeah.
Like just even roads.
Yeah.
How much we take that, or electricity.
Or water.
Yeah. Because when you see like how the people over there live, or at the time I was there, I was like, oh wow, they don't have, like they're literally just in a hut.
Yeah.
Just they have a hut. They have a couple goats. They make pita bread. Seriously, they gave us pita bread sometimes.
Wow, nice.
I don't know. Like, so that was definitely like a weird, eye-opening experience. Iraq's a weird thing for me because I don't like that I went. Like, I'm kind of mad because like when I think about like what we did over there, I'm like, we didn't really do anything.
Right.
I kind of feel like we made the situation worse. But because I went, I'm kind of glad that I personally went because it's like it really did open up my eyes and did show me something. It did give me the thing what I was looking for with the Army, the thing of seeing something that a lot of people don't see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think you're allowed. Look, you went and experienced it, so no one sitting listening to this.
Did you ever go overseas?
No, I never went overseas. Okay. No, I served 8 years, but I never went into a theater of war. For whatever reason, whatever it was, my unit was just never like we were lined up during the first Gulf War to go in '91. Like we were going to go, but our head.
And then they just never activated.
No, they never activated us because it was over in like 2 seconds. That war, the first one. And so it just took so long to get it done. It didn't take that long to get it done, so it wasn't that big of so they didn't send us. But I spend the rest of the time in there. But you have a right to say these things because you've been there, right? Anybody listening to this who may have an issue with how Jason portrayed it, like if you haven't been there, I don't want to hear it. Like it's just how it works, right? Because experience is the difference, you know. And so, all right. So did you lose anyone you knew? Did you experience that ever? Like was there anyone?
We lost a couple people.
Okay,
we did.
Was it people you were close to or that you knew?
No.
And if you don't want to talk about this, we don't have to.
I don't want to go into too many details on it, but one guy I knew pretty well, and the other guy didn't.
Okay.
So, and then we lost a third guy because right before we left, they did a thing where they were like, "Hey, if you guys are already in theater, you're already trained, you know the terrain, we'll give you a bonus if you stay for another year."
Yep.
And we had 4 people do it. And the saddest thing about that is one of those 4 got killed in his second year.
Oh,
and you're just like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's for that money, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I had a friend who went back for 5 tours.
5 tours?
And he survived each tour.
Good God. See, it's funny. I came back. So when I came back from Iraq, I had 6 months left on my term.
Yeah.
Because I did a 6-year term. Right. And I was doing everything I could to make the paperwork go as fast as possible and get the hell out of there. I think my last day, I showed up in civilian clothes.
You're not keeping me. Yep, You're not keeping me.
Yeah, they did everything they could to convince me to stay, and I was like, nope.
Just walk around with your duffel bag everywhere. I gotta go. I was
wearing like jeans and a t-shirt. I was carrying my duffel bag to like.
Of course.
Yeah.
I remember.
Like, here, take this stuff. I don't want it.
That's right. Put it on the train. I gotta get out of here. It's all in there. Trust me. It's all in there. You don't have to count it down. Just get me out of here.
I think I threw my M16 at them. I was like, I don't want it.
So from there you came, did you come to LA, go back to Kansas? You got your degree?
So from there I went to Tulsa. I finished my bachelor's. And then I stayed in Tulsa for another 2 years because I didn't want to move to LA without any money.
Yeah,
so
smart.
I had a gun. I threw away the gun. Or the weapon, I mean.
Right. Yeah, there you go. The rifle. Yeah.
There you go, yeah. Don't call it a gun. I had a money amount that I wanted to move out to LA with. I was like, I got to have this X amount. And so I stayed for 2 years. I worked, funny enough, I was an automotive paint salesman for 2 years. Yeah. So I know a lot of weird things about dents and dings in cars and the type of paint. It's weird. Yeah, it's weird. So like friends of mine will have accidents and stuff like that, and they'll be like, "Yeah, the insurance company wants to charge me like $5,000." Like, yeah, they're overcharging you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. So look up Jason Inman.
There you go.
Send him pictures.
You get into like an accident or your bumper falls off. Like I'm the guy to call. Like I could tell you whether they're ripping you off or not.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's good. I'm logging that in my brain. I've had 7 car accidents in LA, so I'm logging that in my brain. Yeah.
I've yet to be in one.
Really?
I've not been in one. I've been here 7 years.
I get hit all the time.
God, man.
From behind. Hello. Every single time. It's the worst.
Yeah. So then after that, I hit that money amount.
Yeah.
I packed everything I had that I could into my car.
Right.
Anything that wouldn't pack in my car, I got rid of or I sold. I just threw away.
Yeah.
And I drove out here.
Wow.
And that was 7 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And 7 years ago, like this month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so celebration.
The time of this recording.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you put all this together, and then you drove out here, and then you established yourself for a little bit. Like, what was your goal coming out? Like, did you have an idea you were going to be in film, television? Like, what was it?
I wanted to work in film and television.
Okay.
At the time, I thought I was going to work behind the scenes.
Right.
And I eventually wanted to work my way up into writing and directing and doing all that stuff like that.
Right.
But I didn't have a solid plan. I really didn't. I was just like, I got to get out here and get a job.
Right.
And maybe I'll make stuff. And I worked the first 2 months. I was unemployed. My first job that hired me. For 2 weeks, I was a professional audience member for the Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson.
Yeah.
So I did it through a service the first day, and I was like, I like Craig Ferguson. I was like, this is gonna be great. I get to watch the show for free. Awesome. And I'm getting paid for it. All right, cool. And I just went overboard. I was just like really big. I was like, Craig! I was like clapping really loud. And the producer grabbed me after the recording and was like, oh, you're one of the ex-audience members, because they know what seat you're in, stuff like that. And they were like, would you just come back tomorrow? And I was like, yeah. They were like, yeah, screw your service. We'll pay you.
Wow.
Just come back. You're going to sit in that same seat. And I sat in that same seat for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it like $80?
It was like 85.
Yeah.
It was like 85 a day. Yeah,
I remember those days, man.
And then I met Craig.
Oh, nice.
My 3 days before I stopped.
Right.
Because I actually got a real job.
Right.
And yeah, he was so nice. He was very nice. He came up and he was like, oh, I've noticed you every day. Like, you're really loud. Like, I love it. You know, like, you're really, and then I just basically told him, I was like, I'm not faking anything. This is real. I really like you. So,
he's a very funny guy.
Yeah, he was very nice.
Yeah.
He was a very nice guy.
Yeah.
And from there, I worked at Universal.
Oh, okay.
I was security during one of the Halloween Horror Nights.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Like my first year I was out here. Yeah.
That's not a good gig.
It's not.
No, security is like really rough because you got the vatos and the big whole homes. It can get dangerous.
I dealt with drunk people.
Yeah.
And then also they did the thing my year. This would have been 2010.
Yeah.
They made me wear the black cloak, so I sort of blended in.
Shit.
Yeah. Like they usually have the PAs wear.
Right.
But like they had all the security wear it because they were like, we want to blend you in more.
Yeah.
So luckily enough, I just put earphones. I put headphones in. I just listened to podcasts.
Oh, that's
yeah.
That's very smart. Who knew that was going to lead you to where it was going to lead you?
Yeah.
So how did you end? No. So then you started. Did you start hosting? Like when did you start? Like what got you into the hosting?
So here's
thing?
The weird thing.
Yeah, let's talk.
I didn't start hosting until like way down the line.
Okay.
Man. it was something I always liked to do. I was always been a talker and stuff like that. So from there, I went and worked at Mahalo.com, which was this cooking company.
Okay.
And I was a cooking producer. I made cooking videos for like a year.
Wow.
And it's funny, I made a lot of contacts. I like to call it the Mahalo Army because it was the worst job in the world.
Right.
Because we were expected to produce 40 videos a week.
Whoa.
It's insane. It's impossible. Nobody ever hit their goal. Wow. That's how impossible it was. Like these high produced quality videos.
Right.
And it's funny. The company failed.
Of course.
And most of the company was laid off. And it's funny to see like where some of the other people have ended up. We call ourselves the Mahalo Army because we're all working at other places. One of the other big ones is if you know Smosh Games.
Yeah, Smosh, of course.
Matt Robb, who runs Smosh Games. I met him. He worked at Mahalo when I worked at Mahalo.
Funny. Okay.
Yeah. So from there, I went to Rhett and Link, and I helped them create Good Mythical Morning.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, I was there day one. I helped them name the damn thing. Because I remember we batted around, like, so many different names and stuff like that. Right. And Good Mythical Morning is what made me a full-time employee for them. And
Gotcha.
and they literally lived over in Sherman Oaks, this small house. We were in their. I went to the garage every day.
Yeah.
I went to Rhett's garage, and it was like the three of us in a garage, like doing those videos and I worked there for 3 years. So it was during Rhett and Link's time that I was sitting there and I was like, hey, all these guys are making videos.
Yeah.
I can make videos. And so I started doing a lot of stuff on my YouTube channel. I started doing sketches.
Right.
You can go find these stupid sketches. I would do like Batman. I would dress up as Batman and go to a drive-thru and like harass the drive-thru employees. I did Shit Comic Book Nerds Say very early on.
Nice.
And then I eventually dropped into this thing called Jason Reads Comics.
Right.
Where I would read every comic book that DC published and tell you in a video like whether you buy it, sell it, buy it, sell it. Now, at the time, it's so funny because I still get fans that will come up to me. I did it for like 2 years straight. Like every week I did it. And they come up to me and they're like, oh, I love Jason Reads Comics.
Right.
And I love you to death if any of you out there are listening to that, but at the time, nobody watched these videos.
Yeah.
Nobody watched these videos. So I did it like the only reason I was doing it is because I had this website that was actually paying me to do them. So I was getting like I was getting some money every week doing it. So that's the only reason I carried it so long. Of course. Because the views did not support making it that long.
Yeah.
So I was working for Rhett and Link. Left Rhett and Link. Ended up at Screen Duckies for a while. I worked at Screen Duckies for about a year, and it was during Screen Duckies when DC did the "We're looking for a host" open call.
Wow.
And I submitted my video and went to the audition, got the gig, and later they told me, I found out on Christmas Eve that year that I got the gig, which was like the best Christmas present ever.
I'm sure.
And I later found out that they said the big reason they gave me the job is because they looked at my YouTube channel and saw all Jason Reads Comics.
Of course.
And they were like, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, and that's the greatest thing about it. And that's the biggest reason why I have you on the podcast today is because you're such a knowledgeable guy about DC Comics and DC, comics in general.
Marvel.
Yeah, and Marvel as well.
A lot about Marvel.
Absolutely, yeah. But like DC All Access, people put that on you because you host the show, and you've done a great. I mean, you and Tiffany have such great chemistry, and you host the show, and now Whitney's there, right? Whitney Moore is doing it with you. Like what? So when this all started, were you just caught up in the whirlwind of it all? Like, were you ever overwhelmed by it, or did your military service like really kind of help you deal with the ins and outs of the troubleshooting of the situation?
Do you mean DC specifically?
Yeah, like when you were doing DC All Access. I mean, like because you're walking into a show like this is a whole nother ball game, right? There's so much at stake.
I was super nervous, man.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I was so nervous.
Yeah.
And I specifically said in because we did like a little press interview before we did it. I specifically said in the press interview because I was hoping that Tiffany would read it. Yeah. That my biggest worry was that I was worried about screwing up her takes, and I hoped that she wouldn't be mad at me. Right. Because I was like, I hope she reads that. Kind of know that like. Because I was really worried about stepping on her toes.
Smooth tracks.
I only met her like once or twice before that, so I didn't know her, and I didn't know how lovely and nice she would be. Which so as soon as I came in, she set me at ease, and it was so awesome. Yeah. But no, the military service helped me a little bit. That just buckle down and do it. Yes. Which is a big thing. The military just go with the flow. If you just do it, it'll happen. Yep. Which is life advice I think for everybody.
Absolutely.
Right? Dude. Just do it. Just buckle down and do it. Stop bitching about it.
Yeah.
You know?
You only get so far bitching about it. That's a waste of energy, a waste of breath.
Bitching is such a waste of energy.
It really is. I get venting. That's a whole other thing. Yeah. But bitching consistently, it stops you from going forward. Yeah. Just get down there, do the work, see what results come out of it. But at least do the work. That's what you're going to hang your hat on and have some pride about.
Yeah. It's a big thing about like this is my biggest piece of advice I've learned from being out here and like the ties into this a little bit, is that you have to show people something.
Yeah.
Like, if I only see you once a year, say I only see you like at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Every year I see you at San Diego Comic-Con, like, I hope you say you're working on something new. Because if you keep telling me the same thing, I'm like, oh, all right, you're bitching about stuff, and you're not gonna produce. Like,
exactly.
You know, and it could be like the same thing. Like, say you got the shows going on, but like you're telling me about, oh, like, hey, we added this new theme song, or we added this new co-host, or we added this thing, and then I'm like, oh, that's great, cool. It's progressing.
Yeah, you gotta always be advancing, man. That's how it works.
That's the big secret, or whatever. But when I walked into DC, I was super nervous. I had nothing to be nervous about because the crew is really awesome. The crew is like really amazing. But I remember early on, I had two problems. I talked YouTube fast, which do you know what that is?
Yeah.
So YouTube fast is like when you talk like say I would tell you the origin of Batman. So it's Bruce Wayne was out in the movie theater with his parents, and his parents. You're talking like that fast, because on YouTube I think you never want to lose somebody's attention.
That's true.
So my biggest note was like, slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down. That was like, I had to learn that lesson very early on.
It's really important because people, like, when it's on camera, people, like, they want to take their time getting to know you, right? And so it's like if you start speeding really fast, they don't have a moment to take a breath and like appreciate what you're doing.
Well, it's also simply understanding what the hell you're saying.
Exactly. That too. Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
There's like a weird disconnect by like seeing somebody's face and hearing them that they can only talk so fast, where you're just like, wait, what are you saying?
Right.
Which I think is like where some of the jokes of like Snatch and other movies come from.
Yes.
It's that weird disconnect.
Which is why Scott Mance is an anomaly.
He is an. I think it's the pitch of his voice.
It is.
I think it is. The pitch
it
of
is
his
absolutely.
Voice. It's a good point.
Our very dear friend Scott Mance.
Oh man, I love that guy. All right.
Yeah. So all right. So let's get to it. I want to talk to you.
Is this boring? I don't know.
No, not at all.
I always feel boring. I always feel weird talking about myself.
No, I love it, dude. And this is, people are tuning in. I told people like from the beginning what this podcast is about: interviewing people, getting to know people, getting to things you're passionate about. I know you're passionate about comics, and I want to bring you on and talk about what's going on now with Wonder Woman. Like we're a few days out, because this is going to come out tomorrow. We're recording it today. It's going to come out tomorrow.
Great.
This episode. So
wow, quick.
So we can talk about this. Like, you've already seen it once.
I've seen it.
I don't want you to spoil anything, obviously, because I haven't seen it. But what do you feel? Like, what is your biggest takeaway from this movie so far? Like,
oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So you set
Tell
me
me.
up perfectly.
Great.
Okay, so I got to see this movie with my wife.
Yeah.
And
the lovely Ashley Victoria Robinson.
Yes, very lovely. And we walked out of the movie, and she was teary-eyed.
Yeah.
And then I also got to see the movie with Mark and his lovely lady as well. She was teary-eyed.
Mark Riley?
Mark Ellis.
Mark Ellis, right.
Mark Ellis,
and Danny.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Mark and Danny were like sitting right beside us in the same screen. Danny was teary-eyed.
Yeah.
Nerd Alert's Kim
Horcher.
Kim Horcher, excuse me. I want to say Horchata, but I knew that was wrong.
I know this.
Kim Horcher was there.
Yeah.
She was teary-eyed. And I looked around, and Tiffany was on my screen as well. Tiffany was there. Every woman was crying at the end of that movie. And I walked to that movie, and I was like, man, I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
But it didn't affect me on the level that affected them.
Right.
So my biggest takeaway from Wonder Woman is, I think if you're a little girl and you see this movie and you're around 10 or 14, you 20 years from now, this will be your Superman the movie, this Christopher Reeve. This movie will be that, like, it's that good, and I think it is that much of a corner touchstone that I think we're going to have a new generation of women that are just like, that's my favorite movie.
Yeah.
And Ashley said there, and this is no spoilers because you've seen it in the trailers. You see little Diana, right?
Yeah.
And there is a scene where little Diana is watching the other Amazonians train.
Yeah.
And Amazons, I don't know what I call them, Amazonians. Yeah. And she is trying to attempt to do the same moves that Robin Wright is doing.
Right.
But she's doing them as like a little kid. Like, she's like, ha, ha, he.
Yeah.
And I've had multiple women be like, that's where it like grabbed me and never let go. And they were like, I didn't realize that I needed that in a movie, but there it is.
Yeah.
The other amazing thing about this movie is at no point in the movie does it put down Steve Trevor.
That's great.
Steve Trevor is an capable soldier,
right?
And he's he's a very smart spy. There are several scenes in the movie where he gets to prove that he's smart.
Yeah.
And he never gets mad at Diana for being better than him, because like from the beginning, Diana is a better fighter. She's stronger.
Yeah.
And she's a better tactician than him.
Yeah.
And they prove that like immediately, like right away. But they never do it in a way to put down Steve. They do it in a way where Steve sees her.
Yeah.
And he views her as like, another tool in my toolbox. I never knew I needed a super strong Amazon to fight my battles. But now that I got her, great.
Right.
And that's the way he views her.
Right.
And then she views him as this way of like, he's always like, this is how man's world works. Mm-hmm. And you can't like bull on a china shop it.
Right.
And so that's a little bit what he teaches her.
Interesting. So to work for change from the inside out.
Yes. Yeah. So that's like the amazing thing about this movie, because again, like, Steve is like, they really give you this idea that Steve is like probably the best soldier in World War I.
Yeah.
Like he's really good,
right.
But like, she's better.
Yeah, they didn't have to do the Kevin James route where you make him the dumb one that the wife always knows better, and you're like, why would this woman be with this guy?
Yeah.
Right? You have that question all the time when you see these terrible sitcoms.
But there are no like sitcom-y moments.
Well, she's the assistant is very funny, right? Her
Etta Candy.
Yeah, Etta Candy. She's
really
very funny. Yeah. I've seen her in a number of things, and so she's always funny.
By the way, as a comic book fan, it is so amazing they put in Etta Candy, because Etta Candy is such a golden age Wonder Woman character.
Yeah.
And certain Wonder Woman writers forget her.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to write her, but it's so great that she's in. Another character, Dr. Poison, who is the woman with the weird mask on her face. She's Wonder Woman's first supervillain.
Oh wow! In the comics.
In the comics.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So they're going way back.
They're really reaching back.
This is legitimately an origin story.
This is this flat out an origin story. Wonder Woman's origin story.
That's so great.
And the only difference is that Wonder Woman was created around World War II.
Right.
But they moved to World War I. But it's interesting because I think the World War I setting works.
It seems like it works so much
really
better.
Works.
Yeah. Because we've traversed World War II on numerous films, and especially with Captain America.
Yes.
So why go back to that? You know, and I know it's a different universe, but still, we've already seen it. As
and I've seen people bitching about it, but like I think it totally makes sense to move to World War I.
It does, because if you use the Dr. Poison stuff, the chemical warfare, like all that kind of the trench warfare, all of that is there, and it's very powerful. That
again, this is no spoilers.
Yeah,
you've seen it in the trailers. The scene where she climbs out of the trench.
Yeah,
chills. Dude.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, like, it is chills.
I can't wait to see this.
It is so. It's my favorite scene in the movie.
Oh, great.
Where she crosses no man's land.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh, I can't wait.
So
then now, okay, so I mean, it's getting like 97% of Rotten Tomatoes, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I'm going tomorrow night with a bunch of friends. The thing that's come out now recently this week is this whole idea. It started, I guess, a little bit last week when Austin announced that they were going to do these female-only screenings, right?
Yeah.
So a couple of my fans have like sent me tweets to talk about it and direct messages to talk about it. So I want to talk about it with you because I have my feelings about it.
What are your feelings?
My feelings are.
I don't know. What are your feelings?
Look at you just turned into the host of this.
Right.
That's right.
This is now my podcast. John, what are you working on right now?
Tell us about how you got here. No, for me, my feelings are, it's a bunch of nonsense and hogwash that people are upset about this shit.
I agree.
You have to understand how, and what Jason just said is a really great point, to see the effects that this film has on our female friends, our female compatriots, or whatever you want to call it, in this business. You know, they see the effect. It's the same way I felt coming out of Rogue One. I didn't tell a lot of people this. I went home and cried after Rogue One.
Oh, yeah?
Because finally, we are a part of the sci-fi universe, the fantasy universe, the Latinos. We're part of it.
Nice.
And it matters, man. It fucking matters.
It does matter. You know, somebody on Twitter gave me, and I forgot his name, but he gave me the best explanation for why representation in media matters, and it's the best thing. Representation in media is this. He said, imagine going to see the giant blockbuster summer movie.
Yeah.
And they mention your hometown.
Right.
You'd freak out.
Of course.
You know, and it's the same thing.
That happened in The Purge. They mentioned Dale City. That's where I grew up, in Dale City, Virginia.
Yeah.
When they mentioned it, I was
and
like,
you were
this
like,
is awesome. Yeah. So and it means something. And I'm not saying this like some people go like, well, you just want to have people in there. No, that's not it. If the casting makes sense, then do it that way.
Agreed.
Why not?
Agreed.
There's been enough roles for white people for decades, centuries in this country. So it's like, it's okay to have a little bit of thing. So for this, female-led screenings make sense. Female-only screenings make sense to me because this is a film that is, like you said, a cultural touchstone for people, for women to go and see. And the fact that it's good, the fact that it's getting all these amazing reviews, even more so that finally they did a female-led superhero movie and they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I think it's that, and
so
then also
let
the
them
idea
enjoy
that it's a female director.
Yeah.
It's that this. Everybody's probably already tired of people talking about Wonder Woman, but like, here's the thing, and I'm going to say it right now.
Yeah.
I think Wonder Woman is the movie to beat this summer.
Wow.
And I haven't even
I
haven't even seen Spider-Man.
Yeah, or Thor.
I haven't seen Thor's in November.
Fair.
So,
You're right.
But
November, God.
And you know, I haven't seen The Mummy.
Yeah. I think that's gonna be fun. I don't think that's gonna be great, right?
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
actually,
me too.
But it's gonna be decimated, I think. But I saw Guardians 2, and I like Guardians 2 just fine.
Fun.
I thought the first one was better.
Okay.
But yeah, Wonder Woman, I just think because it's gonna be this lightning strike in society, I think it's gonna just.
Right.
Yeah, and I know. Yeah, I agree with you. It's a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
If they want to do a women's only screening, great.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, I'd be fine if they wanted to be like, let's do the men's only screening of Highlander. I'm in.
Yeah, or men's only screening of any Sylvester Stallone movie or Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah.
People would be fine with that. Women would not be like, we want to be included too.
Women wouldn't say a damn thing.
They wouldn't say a damn thing. And the thing is, we need to understand as men, though, the history of misogyny in this country. So to have this situation come up and and be like, okay, not let, I don't want to say that, but be okay, like not have an issue with this at all and go, yes, you know what, go to a female-led screening, female-only screening, go and enjoy that, go and savor what we had a chance to savor with Superman in 1978 or Batman in 1989, whatever your touchstone film is for you as a male superhero movie fan. You know, there's nothing wrong with them having
let them have it.
Yeah, this whole idea of like, well, you know, I want to see it early too. Fuck off. You can wait.
Yeah,
you can wait.
It'll be just fine.
They've waited decades.
To
have a female-led superhero
and it's great.
movie.
This is because Ashley has made, and here's the other thing about this is that you will learn very quickly if you get in a long-term relationship. You will learn very quickly that there is a lot of misogyny out there.
Yeah, of course.
And there's a lot of misogyny as a male that you don't see.
Yes.
You don't see it until you get in a long-term relationship. Because then when you get in a long-term relationship, and especially like if you work with your partner or whatever, which I do a lot, I've noticed that people working with Ashley will treat her differently than they'll treat me. And there have been times where I've had to send the email because otherwise they will not respond to Ashley.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's here in LA, and I'm like, really?
Yeah, as progressive as LA thinks it is.
It's very so like you want to know what it's like? Go date a woman for a long time.
Yeah. It's absolutely true.
Date a woman for over a year, and you'll see it real quick.
Yeah, I mean, and the hardest thing for me, one of my last girlfriends was a 5-year relationship, and I had to traverse. We had to traverse because she had just moved out here too, and we had to walk through all this stuff, and it was really hard for me because I'm an old school Latino. So to me, it's like you say shit about, or you treat my woman differently. You treat like I got to go up and confront.
You want to explode every day,
but she had to teach me like how that this is just standard operating practice, and this is something that a lot of women, or maybe all, learn to just kind of deal with and process in their way.
I now think it's all.
Yeah.
I really do.
You're probably
I
right,
now think
dude.
it's all.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, and you know.
So give them their goddamn movie.
Yeah, exactly. Let them have a female-led screening, for fuck's sake. You can wait.
You assholes.
You can wait, asshole. Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's why so many of them reacted when Trump won. A lot of women were incredibly destroyed by this whole idea because they know that guy that talks about grabbing him by the pussy, that talks about all this kind of thing. They know that guy.
Yeah.
And so that's why it affected them on a visceral level.
Or they've accidentally dated that guy.
Yeah, accidentally. Right, exactly.
Yeah,
either way, they know that guy.
They know that guy.
At work or in personal life. Yeah. So anyway, so I'm so happy that you enjoed the movie, and everyone seems to be like on
I'm really
board
excited
with
to
this.
see it a second time.
Yeah,
I'm so excited to see it a second time.
Yeah. I may go see it a second time this weekend. Like after I see it, if I love it,
I might
go Saturday or Sunday.
I really might too. Like I said, I walked out of my screening and I saw it 2 weeks ago, and I was ready to be like, if they had a screening at 11 o'clock that night, I would have immediately turned around and gone and saw it again.
Wow.
Yeah. I really,
that's great.
I really, really enjoyed it.
Okay, so now what do you think this means for the DCEU going forward? Like I talked with Amy Awesome last week about this whole idea of Zack Snyder stepping out and Joss coming in. Now, do you
By the way,
think...
mad respect for Zack Snyder.
For
giving up what I imagined would have been an impossible movie to give up.
Yeah.
You know, Justice League.
Yep.
Like the first Justice League movie. man, to walk away. But I admire him for taking care of his family.
Absolutely, you have to.
Yeah.
I'm sure he tried and hit that wall. It's like, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
My it's his daughter.
You gotta take care of your family, man.
You
But
have
I understand because it was probably like a Band-Aid. Like he was like, I can't.
Yeah.
I don't want to give up Justice League.
Yeah. Some people just have to keep going to work to keep to process. Just some people have to do it that way, and then eventually the wall hits, and that's how it goes. So, what do you think this means now with this powerful Wonder Woman movie going to blow up and probably going to make a crap ton of money?
I think it will.
Well, yeah. What do you think this means for the DCEU going forward? Like, does this revive the DCEU? Does this help the DCEU? Like, what is your opinion? And you don't have to subscribe to my feeling that it needs to be revived. I'm just asking you what your feeling is.
I actually don't feel it needs to be revived.
Okay.
I've seen so many people, like, it's so funny, before Wonder Woman came out, they were talking about, like, we need to reboot the DCEU. And I was like, look, people, anybody that says that doesn't understand how Hollywood works, because I don't give a flying fuck what you think about Batman v Superman or Suicide Squad.
Right.
They both made $800 million. They were box office hits.
They made money.
It's the whole reason why we have 6 Transformers movies now.
Yeah.
Even though like no critic likes those movies. I know, John, you really like those movies.
Yes, but I'm not officially a critic.
Yeah.
I'm just a pundit.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
But they keep making them because they keep making money.
Yep.
So there was never a conversation in Warner Brothers about rebooting the DCEU because every movie has made money.
Exactly.
So...
And had its fervent defenders.
Yes. Yeah. What I think the difference with Wonder Woman might be is, one, I think they're going to greenlight Patty Jenkins' next movie immediately. The strong rumors are that it's Wonder Woman 2, which I'm very excited about.
Sure.
I was kind of like, give her Justice League 2.
Ooh.
Because she's a competent director.
Right.
Maybe that'll happen after Wonder Woman 2. We'll see. But I think the bigger course of the DCEU going forward, especially after Wonder Woman, is I think this might get Warner Brothers to actively work on the story of every movie a little bit more, because I heard they worked on this story quite a bit.
Yeah.
Also, Alan Heinberg, the guy who wrote Wonder Woman, is a Wonder Woman comic book writer.
See, there we go.
He's wrote
he understands.
a really great run of Wonder Woman. Yeah. So he understands that character. So I think this might get them to be like, oh, let's do a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
Or let's get a director that's super passionate about this movie. That's why I'm kind of excited for Aquaman by James Wan, because apparently they gave James Wan the choice of anybody in the Justice League, and he picked Aquaman. So I'm like,
why not?
Yeah. So I'm like, what is it about Aquaman? You must love something about Aquaman or this version of Aquaman. So I'm excited to see your movie. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I think we might see some more female-led superhero movies get green. It would not surprise me if Batgirl is greenlit at San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the success of Wonder Woman?
Well, they've been saying that Joss Whedon is attached to it. So,
and especially since he's inside the family now.
Yeah.
Like, he's working on Justice League. So, like, I think Batgirl is going to happen.
And Birds of Prey, possibly.
We might get a Birds of Prey movie now.
We definitely Harley Quinn.
We could get maybe a decent Catwoman movie out of this.
Oh, man. Whoa. Imagine that.
Imagine that, which is something we haven't seen.
Right.
But also... I could also see them announcing Gotham City Sirens, like putting the date down and being like, this is when it happens.
Yeah.
But I think the thing about Wonder Woman that they might show is just be like, get a director that's really passionate about this project and look what we can do. And I think Aquaman might be that as well. Like, I really think Aquaman might be that movie as well. And I think Wonder Woman's going to prove that to him. But I think you're just going to see a slight shift. The interesting thing is I think we'll get away from the action blockbuster headiness movies that the last couple we've had. Now Justice League will be the big determiner of that, because again we're going back to a Zack Snyder film.
Right.
But the interesting thing about Justice League is Justice League to me now is a complete unknown.
Yes, it is.
Because I'm like, how finished was the movie before he stepped away?
Yeah.
And I know everybody out there, especially a lot of the super fanboys, will be like, oh, Joss Whedon's going to save that movie. Joss Whedon is brought onto that job to complete Zack Snyder's vision.
Right.
They're not going to suddenly just let him throw in a scene about Hamlet. Because Joss Whedon's a big Shakespeare guy.
Yeah, he is.
In the middle of Justice League. They're not going to let him do that.
Right.
They're only going to let him do that if that's what Zack Snyder would have wanted.
Yeah, and they're good friends.
Yes.
Right? And that's the thing. So they understand each other, they know, and they picked the right guy that would be able to take what Zach had done and see it to its end.
Yeah.
And see it to its end. And maybe he'll put his twist on it, his flair on it, but I guarantee you he's not going to I don't know these people personally, right?
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that as friends, like he's not going to do anything to the movie without running it by Zach first.
Exactly.
I just have a feeling that he'll have some kind of email thread with Zach about certain things. Hey, I'm thinking of doing this. I'm thinking, does it still work? Like, what do you think if I hone this? And I think Zach, probably to his credit, will be okay with it. Will acquiesce to it.
And Joss Whedon's strength, if you look at his writing strengths, are dialogue.
Yeah,
and it's also
female characters.
And it's also fitting the pieces together.
Yes,
he's very good about putting A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get the Justice League movie we were going to get with Zack Snyder anyway.
Yeah.
It's just that it might flow a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we might have some like really funny scenes in there now.
Well,
yeah.
And I think your point is great, Jason. I think this whole idea with Patty Jenkins, like I said, I like Man of Steel. I've been on record as saying
I like Man of Steel as well. I really do. The fight goes on a little too long, but I still love it.
It doesn't take anything from like I watched it again the other day at work, just randomly, just because I was in the mood.
Yeah.
BVS, not a fan of. Suicide Squad, not a fan of. But I love Man of Steel. But I think what Patty Jenkins does here, I have a feeling after coming out of the movie, I have a feeling that this is the blueprint.
Yeah.
Now going forward, and James Wan. They probably have been in contact with each other, kind of seeing, what are you doing with Wonder Woman? This is what I'm going to do with Aquaman. That's this kind of. So you're having the same vibe coming forward. And so if anything else, and it's not anything against Warner Brothers or DCEU.
Yeah.
Maybe they saw, okay, look, we're maybe making a couple of missteps here. Let's let the directors do what they want to do. Let them breathe their life into these characters, and let's let them see. And maybe the public will love it. And so you take a chance.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with course correcting in the. There's no shame in it.
There is no shame in it. It's also the people like. All the announcements, it's like I saw a lot of people on tweet, like, because Warner Bros. Would be like, well, we're doing Gotham City Sirens, maybe we're doing a Deadshot movie, we're gonna do a Nightwing movie.
Jeff Johns is hilarious with it.
Whatever. And I see people being like, wow, they don't know what they're doing, they're just freaking out. And I kind of want to be like, we're now in this Twitter society, this Twitter world, where every single press release is analyzed to the finest detail. And look, Warner Brothers didn't announce the DC. They did. They announced the DC films kind of like Marvel did.
Right.
But if you're noticing, we're not getting every film that they announce, and also we're already changing from that.
Yeah.
Because there's not that many movies that fill up the years, because I think Warner Bros. Is going to want to do the Marvel model where we try to get to like 3 a year.
Yeah.
But that's what a movie studio does all the time.
Exactly.
If you knew how many products have been greenlit and then just sit in development hell for years,
it would blow your mind.
It would blow your mind.
Yeah.
And all these announcements are just announcements of they're going into the scripts being written.
Yeah, yeah.
There are thousands upon thousands of Hollywood scripts that are written every year that a studio pays for to write every year that never get made into movies.
Yeah.
That's what these are.
Some people make a whole living out of just writing scripts that never get produced.
I have a friend. He used to be a boss. He used to be his writer's assistant, actually. And until he got hired he worked on Incorporated.
Okay,
that was like his first staff job. Yeah. Before Incorporated, he made his entire living off of selling scripts. Not a single one of them ever produced. Seriously.
That's great.
He would sell one like every year.
Make that money.
And he would make the money, and it was never made.
That's good. There's Hollywood for you. Well, Jason, listen, dude, thanks so much for taking the time.
Is it over already?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We can only talk for so long because the podcast is only so long. But I want to know what's one thing that you want to let people know about DC going forward? Like, what is one thing about, is there anything on DC All Access that you got going forward? Is there anything that people should be looking forward to in the future?
Ooh, we always do something big around San Diego Comic-Con.
Okay.
I'll tell you this. Okay. This is specifically the comic book. Is that okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. They announced this series called Mr. Miracle. It's written by Tom King and Mitch Garrett.
Yeah.
It's going to be coming out in August. It's Mr. Miracle is this character that can escape from everything.
Scot-free, right?
Yeah, created by Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
When he was at DC. They're going to do this 12-issue miniseries, and it's about him kind of trying to escape death.
Right.
I got to read the first issue early, luckily enough.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Wow.
It is fantastic. If you're not a comic book fan, I would suggest you don't need to know anything about this world. Yeah. I'm telling you, John, you should pick up this issue.
I love Mr. Miracle.
It is, oh man, if they land this, and I think they will because they landed Sheriff of Babylon, which is their Iraq series.
Right.
This could be like a V for Vendetta.
Oh, wow.
A Batman Year One level type story.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I used to read Mr. Miracle because Big Barda is involved, right?
Yeah, his wife.
Yeah. And then they go through Apocalypse. Like, there was all kinds of stuff that was involved with Mr. Miracle that was interesting.
The Fourth World.
Yeah, the Fourth World. Yeah, exactly. I was a massice fan of Justice League, like back when J.M. DeMatteis did it. Like, those are my favorite Justice League runs. Like with those smart ass stuff with Guy Gardner and Fire and Ice and all that.
They call it the Bwahaha League.
Yes, the It was the best. I have them all in collections because I used to have them. Yeah, it was the best. So I fell in love with Mr. Miracle during that run on Justice League.
If you're looking for like a way to go back to the comic shop, Mr. Miracle #1, it comes out I think August 12th.
Awesome.
But I got to read the first issue and it's fantastic.
Great.
So there you
go. Well, Jason, please tell people where they can find you.
You can always find me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. YouTube.com/Jawin at JAWIIN. I do videos every week. Geek History Lesson is my podcast on iTunes. John has been over there.
I loved it.
Amazingly. Yeah. That's where we're going to have like a full Wonder Woman spoiler review next week.
Awesome.
And then if you want interested in my comic book that I wrote with Ashley Robinson, you can go to jupiterjet.backerkit.com and you can pre-order the book.
Oh, great.
It's not going to come out till January. But if you want to get in there, there's like kind of other little stuff. And
is it? You get all 12? How many issues?
You'll get all 5 issues. You'll get like the trade paperback.
Gotcha.
If you pre-order there.
Awesome.
Yeah. But then the comic should hit comic book stores November-ish, December-ish. We haven't got an exact date yet.
Okay.
So.
And where could people find? Where's DC All Access?
DC All Access is youtube.com/DC Entertainment.
There we go.
Every single weekday.
And then, do you have any Schmoedown matches coming up anytime soon?
I don't. I don't. I'm a little. I'm gonna throw it out there. Like I've been bothering Christian.
Yeah.
Online. I haven't actually emailed him. I should probably do that.
Right. Probably do that.
Team Trek.
Yeah.
We got a good record and we're disappearing because we're not getting any matches, man.
Well, you lost.
So
you had a shot and you lost.
I know.
I wonder
just like you.
We get our we did. That's right. Team Top 10, we lost the belts. We get another shot at it. So but I think if we lose to the Patriots, we might be facing you guys next. I don't know.
I heard that's the big match.
That's the rumor.
Everybody wants us to go against.
Yeah, we should. I mean, Mance Roca. It's unbelievable.
Whatever. It's whatever. I've been too busy for Schmoedown, so
but that's a good thing.
Lately.
That's not a negative. So
yeah.
All right, well, Jason, thanks so much for being on the Outlaw Nation podcast.
Thank you, man.
It's always great to talk to you.
Come back soon. Was it boring?
Huh?
Was I boring?
No, shut up. You were great. Stop it.
What all men's screening movie can I go to? What would be like the ultimate movie? I mean, I'm making the case. Oh, RoboCop?
No.
Okay.
Conan the Barbarian.
That's it. Done.
That's a men's only screen.
Let's call the Alamo Draft House right now. The all men's Conan the Barbarian.
Done.
All right.
I'm down with that.
In.
All right, everybody. We'll be right back with the Outlaw Nation podcast. That was my interview with Jason Inman. I told you guys would love it. You would enjoy it. I hope you did. I know I did. Listening to it over again as I was editing it for this podcast, for this episode rather. It's just so much fun talking to Jason about all these kinds of things. And I think he offered some interesting insights on what he thinks is the future is going to be for DCEU and the films going forward. And a great suggestion on the Mr. Miracle thing. I can't wait to read that. And of course, please go check out his Jupiter Jet comic. Or at least go support it and hopefully pre-order it. Him and Ashley are just such an incredible pair, and I can't wait to see how Jupiter Jet turns out. And it got crowdfunded, which is amazing. So that tells you so much about how much people love and respect Jason. So it was an honor to have him on the show. So everyone knows I'm the Outlaw, and we are turning the corner into June. And now that it's June, it's time to start focusing up. I've got a triple threat match coming up in a few weeks. I've got a tag team championship match coming up in a few weeks. And I want to take this moment to start talking about this stuff. Listen, I've fought really hard to win those belts. To win those tag team belts. We had to beat the Schmoes. We TKO'd the Schmoes. And some of you don't know there was a bit of like behind the scenes controversy that we had to square away. Christian held on to that thing, would lord it over me every once in a while. And then we beat them again. And solidified ourselves as the #1 contenders. The Wolves of Steel gave it a great shot. I mean, you can't take anything away from Mark Riley and Clark Wolf. They fought their asses off. They took the Patriots to the limit. Team Trek took the Patriots to the real limit. There's controversy around that. They squeaked by us. So I know for me, I've never been more motivated to win a belt than those tag team belts, to win those belts back. Even chasing Dan's belt. Because there was always a chance that I wouldn't get it. There was always a chance that I might not get it. But with this, I've already tasted it. And I felt that I lost it unfairly. With Riley, when I lost the singles championship, the belt, that was a fair loss. But I know Matt feels like we didn't give our best effort that day. And so we have been salivating at the bit. We've just been salivating, chomping at the bit, rather, to get a shot at those belts. And JT, I know JT's been studying. I hear him and April, like they do an hour of movie trivia every night. I know that Snyder's been studying, on this side of breaking news all the time. Breaking this, breaking that. Yeah. So they're ready. They don't want to lose those belts. They want to hold those belts as long as possible. And they know that we can beat them. I know in their hearts, they know we can beat them. And it scares the shit out of them. And that's what I want. Matt and I are coming like we've never come for any other match before. And I know we want those belts. Now, as for the triple threat match, this is a whole nother ball game. Mark Riley is a worthy champion. He has been the champion before. He bested me. I bested Dan. Dan bested Riley. This is the logical end of our three-way dance. And I know some of you are upset that I got an immediate rematch. Some of you are upset that I whined or cried or whatever you want to say. But I earned my shot at that thing. Dan earned a shot at this thing. Dan would have gotten an immediate rematch, but Dan is a busy guy. We have to fill the time. We have to fill slots. We have to have matches. He can't be the Brock Lesnar of the league. So now this satisfies all parties. Dan gets another shot. I get another shot. And Riley gets to prove himself for real. If Riley bests us both, he becomes the true champion that he's always felt in his heart that he is. If I best them, or rather if Dan bests us, then Dan retains this veneer of invincibility that he has, that people give him and that he has earned. Absolutely, he's earned that. But if I beat these guys, if the Outlaw finally comes back and reclaims his belt, having learned the lessons of the Riley match, having embraced what brought him here, then I'll truly be the people's champion. And that's what I want. I want the belts so bad. Not just the tag team belts. I've talked about this already. All the belts, all the records. It was a fun thing to say before. Now, it's my absolute focus. Absolute focus. I want those belts back. I want to walk out with everything around my waist or on my shoulders and be able to do exactly what I said I was going to do. And you guys know, those of you who followed the Outlaw for a year, you know, when I'm motivated, when I'm chasing something, I'm undeniable. I'm unstoppable. And I usually get it. So just know, I've been training. I've been focusing up. I want those belts. I love Riley to death. I have massive respect for Dan Murrell. Those guys are great champions. Those guys are fantastic at trivia. And they are incredibly difficult to beat. So I don't take either of them lightly. But it's my belt. And I want it back around my waist. The Outlaw has to reclaim his birthright, which is the championship. And I take nothing away from those guys. My days of yelling and making massive statements and, mentioning people's lives or whatever, those days are done. That was Outlaw 1.0. This is Outlaw 2.0. And the Outlaw 2.0 is smarter, wiser, calmer, more confident, and yes, if it's even possible, more driven. And you guys will see the results of that in those matches. All right, that was my Schmoedown moment, Schmoedown segment of the show. I think it's time for me to wrap it up here. Thanks everyone for listening again this week. You guys have been amazing with the comments, with the direct messages, with the Facebook messages, with the tweets, with the YouTube comments. Like, I've just really appreciated all the love the show has gotten, and we're getting this thing off the ground, and it's been amazing how many of you have downloaded it, how many of you have listened to it, how many of you have commented on it. I couldn't thank you guys enough. You guys and gals, I couldn't thank you all enough. It means a lot to me. It means so much to me because this was something that I really was hesitant about doing. You know, I don't know if you know this about myself, but the Outlaw certainly loves the attention. But John Rocha, I just do my thing, man. You know, I'm not tweeting all the time. I'm not like, posting stuff on Instagram all the time. I'm not doing all these things, trying to get attention for myself all the time. I just do the work, man. I'm just a worker bee, and I want to get where I'm going. I just put my head down and do the work. And I love doing it, and I really appreciate you guys giving the love back, and some of the words you guys have said, how I inspire you and how I've motivated you or pushed you or like brought you some peace in moments of distress or sadness or pain. Like, I really appreciate that, I really appreciate I can do that because other people did that for me. So the fact that I can pay it forward in this way means a lot. So thanks so much to everyone who's been listening and everyone's been supporting the show and catching up on the show. And yeah, tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your family members, tell your college friends, tell your high school friends if you're a high school listener. If you're in any of the countries that listen, Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, Wales, Scotland, England, Africa, Ghana. Yeah, Ghana. Top 10 reference there. Anywhere in the world, if you're listening to me, like, tell other people about the show. Let's get worldwide. The Outlaw Nation's got to be worldwide. And tell me what you want me to talk about. Like, tweet at me the things you want to talk about. Like, we'll get to them. I promise we'll get to them. I love the fans, and I love the support, and I want to give back to you guys. All right. Thanks so much again for listening this week. You guys can find me on social media, on Twitter and on Instagram, at The Rocha Says, TheRochaSays. You can also listen to me on The Cinephiles, the show I co-host with Steve Morris. That's Cine-Files. It's on iTunes, on Stitcher, on YouTube. We just did Jaws last week, and if you're listening to this Thursday, to the day this episode dropped, we are doing Star Wars tomorrow, 1977 Star Wars A New Hope. We're doing that one tomorrow. And if you're listening to today, just go back on the Cinephiles and find New Hope. That's the most recent one we've done. We welcomed back Michael Vogel, who is, the executive producer of the new My Little Pony movie and a personal friend of mine, my best friend for over 20 years. He's going to be on the show. And then also every Friday at 10 a.m. on Collider Movie Talk, where I have such a great time with Dennis and Sinead and Natasha and Perry and Mark Ellis and Clark Wolf and David Griffin, all the different people that stop by to talk on the show. And of course, Adam and Cody in the background, which I love to death. And of course, the great and amazing Wendy Lee. Follow all them as well. And follow all the shows here on the SK Plus podcast channel. I forgot to say that at the beginning. Guys, we have so many great shows on this channel. Go to The Wanger Show. Go to Don't Be a Beardo, who I was on. Christian Harloff just did an interview with him. Go to all the different shows, the Schmoedown Rundown, After Schmoedown. Like, there's so many great shows on this SK Plus podcast channel. Go and patronize them. Go and listen to them. So much great content is there. And some great, intelligent, fun, playful people on the shows talking about the stuff that they're talking about and breaking things down. And I'm trying to get on all those shows. Like, I think I've been on almost all the shows except for the Wanger Show. I'm looking at you, Copster and Cody and Brian Perez, also known as Beardo. Get me on that damn show. And RB3, who I love to. RB3, listen, I want to give you a special shout out, brother. I love RB3 to pieces, man. That is one of the biggest balls of warmth I've ever met in my life, man. He is just such a good fucking soul. And we don't have enough of those souls in this world, man. So when you meet one, you just kind of want to be around it all the time. And RB, if you listen to this, brother, I love you madly, son. I love you madly, man. And I think you're a good guy, you're a good egg, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you in your career. And with us, in the whole, Collider Schmoes family, man. It's just been a blast. I know. I'm like, everyone hired you, everyone knows you, but like, dude, you got a special place in my heart, son. I know I'm a latecomer to the party, but I just want you to know that. So there we go. That's my special shout out for RB3. And maybe he's listening. Who knows? But guys, again, guys and gals, thanks so much again for listening. And we will talk to you all next week on the Outlaw Nation podcast. Keep being you. Keep fighting the fight. Keep pursuing your dreams and your goals. Even if your goals are just to make it through a day, make it through an hour. Do it. There's something better on the other side. Trust me, there's something better if you can make it through the day, if you can make it through the hour. I just want to let you know that. All right. Talk to you next week.